that. Hello, my beautiful friends. Before we get started, I must issue a public apology to my editor, Kane. In the reaction commentary video, I was getting on his case because he wasn't sure if this was an announcement that was worthy of a reaction and all that stuff. And I was like, Kane, of course it is. But then he reminded me later in the conversation, he did say, yeah, this is definitely something important. I just didn't pick up on that. I'm sorry. I made fun of you so much, Kane. I hope all is cool. It's cool. Cool between us. I didn't turn off my phone. That little ding was him actually messaging me. Let me turn off my phone, sorry. So anyway, how have you all been enjoying the September Direct? I think Nintendo must just accidentally hit the wrong button and spread it all out over like a month or so. No, we're essentially getting our Direct. We got our Pikmin. We got this. We got our Mario stuff, and it feels really, really, really good for Nintendo to just let us know what's going on for the rest of the year. Feels awesome. And I have so much to say about this game. I have to try to move quickly, or else this will be a 30-minute video. So have you noticed how this is the one game that was not leaked this year? This feels pretty good. It's really, really nice that we got at least one single genuine surprise this year. There were no rumors, no leaks, nothing about this game. I don't know why. I don't know why it's the exception when every other thing was leaked. So, that's awesome. It's very awesome. And you know what? It actually makes a lot of sense that this is coming out. Because of the whole thing where Nintendo tries to put out one Zelda game per year. Doesn't have to be mainline, that can be split between 3D and 2D and spin-offs and remakes and stuff like that. And they've been doing that pretty consistently, and here it is. I kind of feel like I should have expected some sort of Zelda game, although I was expecting Breath of the Wild 2 at one point. This is obviously confirmation that Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming this year. But interestingly enough, this is coming this year. This is basically our holiday title. And it's a Warriors game, but it's a really big, important one that tells a Zelda story. So I have to wonder if this was always going to be the holiday game for this year. You know what I mean? I just don't know. Was this a compromise? Did they have another game they were going to do? What if it was even Metroid Prime 4. This would have been 4 years of development if they hadn't restarted it. What if there was one time when it was going to be the holiday title? Doubtful, because Metroid isn't very big, but the numbers line up. So yeah, I wonder if this was always going to be it, or if maybe this was going to come out earlier and then the Breath of the Wild was going to be the holiday title, but that does not seem likely because, the whole situation, the whole pandemic didn't happen until, well into this year. So I have to imagine this was always slated for this year. Was it always going to be our holiday title? I do not know. Maybe Nintendo has something else lined up, but it's really good to see that there is a holiday title because for a long time it was is everything delayed? Are we going to say, no, Nintendo is having a hard time, so there just isn't going to be one? But there was always that idea in the back of my head, we might get one more announcement for this year. We might get one more because we still don't technically have a really solid holiday title. The Mario remasters aren't the holiday title that's coming out soon and everything. So yeah, it feels really good to finally have something. So glad it's coming this year. It's coming in November. It's a big deal. I was wrong about Breath of the Wild 2 coming this holiday. However, can I take half credit that it was sort of a Breath of the Wild related game coming this year? I don't know if I should, but I'm taking half credit. Try to stop me. And really, finally, now that we finally know what's going on, 2020 isn't so bad after all. The pacing was weird, Nintendo's communication was weird, but you can look back and be like, all right, Animal Crossing, Paper Mario, Mario remasters, Pikmin port, and now we're gonna get this. Okay, not too bad. It took a lot of the year going by for us to see that it wasn't too bad, but it's finally nice to see that it's not too bad. This is something I did not see, I guess because it's not in the reveal video that I did. If you just watch the trailer itself, the standalone trailer, at the end it says, next update, September 26th. That is really, really cool. One, it's just great that we're going to get more information in a few weeks. That feels very good. But I think more important than anything, I like that Nintendo is telling us when the next update is going to be, because we're so used to getting the reveal trailer and then you're like, okay, there's going to be a follow-up with more information. We just don't know when. We just have no idea when. It feels really good for them to just be like, okay, you don't have to wonder. It's coming on this date. Thank you. Can we please keep doing that? We like to know when the more information is coming. So, all of that's the preface stuff. We haven't talked about the game itself yet. So, if you have seen my Breath of the Wild review, you will know that I was pretty disappointed with the story in that game. I loved the game to pieces, obviously, but it just seemed very bare bones, and it alluded to a lot of stuff that it didn't really talk about, and it felt kind of cheap to me, and the DLC was an opportunity for Nintendo to expand on that and kind of like give us what the main story was missing, and it helps a little bit, but really not that much. Even with the DLC, it still felt pretty lacking. I was left wanting more, and so this is mind-blowing. This is a gigantically mind-blowing piece of news here. I will always be disappointed that we didn't get more of the story in the main game, just because that would have made the main game that much better, and I like to look at the main game and say, this is an amazing, amazing game. So it's like slightly disappointing that we have to get it from another source, but at the same time, I can't deny that it's just a great opportunity to turn that story into its own game. Like, that's an amazing opportunity right there. I really can't complain about that, you know? Like, okay, well, this way we get 2 games, so okay. And like, even the simple idea that Nintendo is making a sequel, and then they also decided to make a prequel, like they are that interested in delving into this story, into a Zelda story, that alone, that right there is massive. This is a massive, massive change for just Zelda and how Zelda stories are told. I actually need to make a whole separate video on this because I would just talk about this the entire time. But yeah, just that idea that they're exploring it so much, because I've said that in the past. I've said how, like, if they just focus more on story, they can give us more experiences, and they don't all have to reinvent the wheel every single time. If they keep telling us a cool story, we will tune in, whatever it is. And that's true here. This isn't even a real Zelda game. This is a Hyrule Warriors game. It's a Warriors game, and yet, there you go. That's a great opportunity for us to just explore it more. So yeah, like I said, that's gonna be a whole video coming later, but that's amazing. And this is just like, it's so cool. It's such an advancement of an idea, because Hyrule Warriors was already really, really cool. Super obvious that the people who made it love Zelda. They dug deep into its history, and it became like the best Zelda fan fiction ever. You know, they took all of just the coolest elements from all the games and put them together in a way that Nintendo themselves never would, and canonically could never really happen. It was like the biggest love letter. And so this takes that idea and takes the team that made that have that Zelda passion, and brings the idea, it more fully realizes it. It says, okay, you guys love Zelda, so now you get to take that love and tell an actual canonical Zelda story with it, and advance just the world of Breath of the Wild, that Hyrule, and tell an even more richer story with it. And what I love about it is, like, just seeing, I mean, like, you know, when we see like the actual moment-to-moment gameplay with the HUD and everything, we'll see really how it feels, but at least like the vibe that I get from this trailer, the feel from it is, it's like, it's less like a Warriors game and more like a Zelda game. Because like, Hyrule Warriors, it was great, and it was all Zelda flavored and everything, and it was a really great game, but it definitely like kind of looked and played like a Warriors game, you know? So it very much carried that kind of, that pedigree, which is fine, obviously. They make Warriors games. But looking at this and seeing like they worked so much more closely with the Zelda team, it seemed like Hyrule Warriors, I'm sure it was like supervised by Nintendo, but it seems like they mostly just did their own thing. Whereas this like actually looks like a Zelda production. This looks like a Breath of the Wild production. You're looking at screenshots and it looks like regular Breath of the Wild gameplay. I know it's gonna play differently, you know, the way you run around and the attacks that you do. It's gonna feel more or less like a Warriors game, but like at a glance, it looks so much more polished and so much more Zelda-like. And then like the cutscenes, clearly Nintendo is doing the cutscenes. They are identical to the cutscenes in Breath of the Wild. I don't think the Warriors team would have been able to replicate that feel so perfectly. And he even said in the reveal, they're working together really, really closely in terms of everything, the look and the feel and the gameplay and the story and everything. And so that's what's so exciting about it, is it's like, this is like getting a new Zelda game. I was already excited that the Breath of the Wild sequel was coming. This is kind of like, this is like a half or like 3/4 of a Zelda game. You know, I mean, it's not the full experience. You're not gonna have dungeons and puzzles and all that stuff. It's mostly just the combat. It's gonna be a Warriors game, but as far as the feel goes, and obviously the story, it's like, it's like the next best thing, and that's still so exciting. And, you know, Hyrule Warriors itself was fun and exciting, and this is like, oh, it's so much more. And like, I don't know, it's just that team who makes the Warriors games, they created so much just coolness, just like raw coolness in Hyrule Warriors. And so now bringing that coolness to a canonical Zelda title that tells a real story, and like we see it in the trailer, we see all the champions and they're doing all their cool moves, and it's like, this is the stuff that I was missing from the main game. This is all the coolness that I wanted to see. That was my biggest problem with it, is they did a lot of telling and not showing. In Breath of the Wild, they told us how all of these guys are so cool and all of these great big battles happen, and they never showed us. And that felt really lame. You can't just tell us, this character is really cool, this character is a certain way, like this is their personality, but you're just saying it. You're not, I mean, that's writing 101. Even when you're writing a movie or a book or anything, you show, don't tell. So that was my problem, and like now this is an opportunity not only to do the showing, but also to show us just cool, just cool stuff. All the champions with all their rad powers, just taking out legions of dudes. Like, oh, can you tell I'm excited? Can you tell I'm just a little bit excited by this idea? And the funny thing is, like, it's one of those ideas that is totally unexpected, and yet when you think about it, it's almost too obvious. Like, that's the perfect Nintendo idea. It's because, like, I'm trying to imagine, like, a lot of people were like, oh, maybe Breath of the Wild, you know, maybe the DLC will have us, like, playing what happened back, you know, 100 years ago, but I was always really doubtful of that. And part of the reason was, like, I wish they would have shown it. That's why I kind of wanted them to just show it in cutscenes, even if you couldn't play it. Because I didn't actually anticipate that you'd be able to show that kind of thing, because like, what do those battles look like? Like, that's the thing, is that the story being told here is actually perfect for the Warriors format, because this was a war. This was people doing battle on a very, very wide scope with just lots and lots of enemies. Like, that's what these wars were. And so that's why the Warriors style is perfect for it. You're gonna get, you know, you're just gonna be Urbosa and you're just killing thousands and thousands of guys, because that's what was happening 100 years ago. That's what that war was, fighting all of these monsters and guardians and stuff. And so it's just a perfect opportunity. And I love how Aonuma himself, like, approached the Warriors team as though, like, he recognized this as a really good idea and as a really good outlet to tell the story that he wanted to tell, but didn't really have another outlet to tell because he's making a sequel, not a prequel. So I don't know, if anything, that's just more proof that this is like a really, just such a good, solid idea. As far as the trailer itself goes, I mean, there's a lot of really cool stuff. It's mostly just the champions and everybody just fighting, using their powers, which is so cool. It's so cool. Just watching them in action, actually fighting. That's what I wanted. And the DLC in Breath of the Wild sort of showed it. It showed them, like, they'd kill, like, a couple guys or something. I'm like, okay, but I want more. And this is that. This is that more. And I do have to wonder how many different characters are going to be in it. Obviously, you're going to get Link, and you're going to get the champions. I don't know, like, is Impa going to be in it? Because Impa was younger back then. Are they? Because I can't really think of a way for them to expand beyond Link Zelda champions. But maybe they will. I don't know. It is interesting to see Zelda using the Sheikah Slate. We see her using the time stop power on a Lionel. I do, like, I'm pretty sure Link discovered those powers. I don't think they had access to them. So I don't know if they're just kind of like retconning that idea just because how else is Zelda gonna fight? That's the thing, is in the events of Breath of the Wild, she hadn't unlocked her sealing powers yet. That's the whole point of the story, is that she didn't know how to fight Ganon, and so she didn't know how to do it, so she couldn't use those powers. So it's like, are they just gonna kind of, okay, well, let's just pretend like she had the Sheikah Slate and can use all those powers? Because that'd be really cool. If that's like her entire moveset, that's neat. But then in the promotional art and stuff, we see her in the dress and she's using the sealing powers. So I'm like, I feel like in the story, she discovered her powers instantly and then like sealed up Ganon. I don't know if there's any time in between there. Maybe they're also gonna kind of retcon that a little tiny bit and be like, well, maybe there was like a little period of time in here where she had those powers, so they can give her her own unique moveset with her big magic powers. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be surprised if they try to fit in all these little like reasons why I mean, if you look at the original Hyrule Warriors, characters that should never have been characters that could fight are there. You know what I mean? You got your Tingle and all that, and your Marin, and there was Marin or Malin, or whichever one it was. Like, stuff that doesn't exactly make sense, but it's still just cool. Because you don't care because you get to be them, and it's just a cool thing. I mean, I have so many questions. So many questions about just what they'll do, how they'll handle certain things. You know, I can't even go all the way into it right now. Like I said, I'd probably just talk for an hour. I wonder, like, just how the story is gonna go, how many cutscenes there are gonna be. Are they pulling the Breath of the Wild 1 on us, where they show us all the cool stuff in the trailer, and then you get there and it's not that much cool stuff? Probably not. You know, there was a lot of cool story stuff in Hyrule Warriors. It seems like this is a vehicle for story, and so that again, like, that's just another exciting thing, is this is an excuse for them to tell a story. So I'm hoping that they really double down on that story idea and tell the heck out of that story. Tons of cutscenes and all sorts of stuff. I would love for there to be like story elements that we didn't know about before, because it just never really came up, you know, because the story was pretty bare bones, just events and happenings that we didn't know. I want more character development for all the champions and Zelda and the King and maybe even Link and all that stuff. I have to wonder, how are they going to handle the champions dying? And that, sorry, spoiler alert, champions die. That's the whole point of that's not actually a spoiler. That's all Breath of the Wild's about that. But like, that right there, like, that's an interesting idea. We are playing as these characters, and we know that these characters die. Are they gonna show it? Is that gonna happen at the end of the game or something? Will there be a campaign for each individual character? I hope they do. I hope they dig right into it, because this is an opportunity, a really, really rare opportunity, for them to give us some really powerful scenes in a Zelda game. And like, Breath of the Wild already had some pretty good scenes for that, but like, this is even more of an opportunity, more so than any Zelda before. And I cannot stress that enough, that this is a really amazing, unique opportunity within the Zelda universe to tell a Zelda story that has not really happened before. So I hope they go there. I hope they really, like, you know, get sappy on us. Really start hammering in the whole emotional aspect, because it's a really big and scary and sad story that they're telling, and I want to see them do it. I just want to see them do it. Do the heck out of it. There's some real potential there to tell a real, just awesome, epic, just powerful story. It's just an amazing opportunity, and I love this idea. Now, I don't want Nintendo to go full Kingdom Hearts here, but I do love the idea of non-mainline games supplementing the story, because story in Zelda, again, not going to go into the whole thing, but story in Zelda is something that I just want more of. I think basically everybody wants more of, and so if they are able to tell more story through side games, go for it, because the mainline games take so long to make. So this is just, I don't know, it's an amazing thing, and it could represent a new bright future for Zelda games and how their stories are told and everything, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to make a full game to give us this story, and also just to give us a little Zelda taste when we're hurting for it, you know? Like, we're so excited waiting for the next game, and I'm always so excited waiting for the next game, but they take so long. This is a great supplement, because like, side games and remakes and remasters and stuff, they're cool, but this, I don't know, it's a new era of Zelda side game. I don't know if they're gonna do this again in the future, but this is what I like to see. This scratches that Zelda itch, because even Hyrule Warriors, even its non-canonical everything, it didn't really have puzzles like a Zelda game. It's mostly just the Warriors thing. You're beating a lot of guys. But it still scratched that itch a little bit. There's a little bit of that is like, oh yeah, that is a little bit of Zelda goodness there. This is gonna be even more of that itch scratched, that Zelda goodness, and I'm just so excited about it, that idea. Beyond all that, beyond them just wanting them to really, really hit the story thing hard, I would say my only other real hope is that I hope it's like a little bit more. I hope the campaign is a little more refined. The thing about Warriors games is like, and like, it's the way that they are, and so like, that's the way they are, and it's what a lot of people like about them, but they're kind of, they can be a little repetitive. The gameplay is very similar throughout the whole experience. There are little things here and there to kind of change it up, but for the most part, it's about the same. It's fun, but it doesn't change up a whole lot. The missions aren't super different, and in the original Hyrule Warriors, they have all these side modes and stuff. It's like, basically, you could play it for hundreds and hundreds of hours if you wanted to. I like the idea of having a lot of content optional, but I do hope that they take this opportunity to make the main campaign just a little bit more refined. You know, not have it be just a little bit less repetitive. Obviously, if you're mixing in a lot of story stuff, that's going to help make it feel fresh a lot. But yeah, I would not mind having significantly less content as long as it's just, yeah, a little bit more carefully planned. I do want it to have a good amount of content, because in the end, that is a lot of what the Warriors series is about, is it's like you have a core gameplay that's so fun by itself, and you have a lot of variety thanks to the different characters, so you can essentially make a really big game with a lot of content, because it's kind of repetitive, but as long as you like the gameplay, that's okay. So I just want a happy medium. I do want it to have a lot of content. If I'm gonna be paying full price for a Warriors game, you know, the same price I would for a full Zelda game, but it's just for a Warriors game. It's a little more simplistic mechanically, so I do want to have a lot of content, but I don't know, just the main campaign, tighten things up just a little bit for the most part. But that's it. I gotta stop somewhere, but I tell you, like, multiple discussion videos are like cropping up. I keep coming up with ideas just because this as an idea is just such a big thing. It feels like kind of a big Zelda-ish change in the way the stories can be told, and I think that's really, really amazing. So definitely stay tuned for more content that will be spawned thanks to this game existing. Obviously, I'll be doing a review in November, so stay tuned for that as well. Thank you for watching. I will see you later. Go down to the comments and tell me what you think about all this. Is this kind of like disappointing? Because it's like, well, I mean, I want a real Zelda game. I don't really like the Warriors games, or are you like me? Is this like an amazing, super cool thing? Are you kind of on the fence? You're not really sure yet? Let me know. Have a good day. I love you. Goodbye.